We've been waiting for this since the general election, the fiscal flesh on the bones of Labour's promise of change. The first Labour budget in nearly 15 years, a defining moment for Britain, delivered by the first female Chancellor.
The Chancellor of the Exchequer.
The scale and scope of Labour's plans are breathtaking. Reeves billing this her new settlement for Britain.
The only way to drive economic growth is to invest, invest, invest. There are no shortcuts. And to deliver that investment, we must restore economic stability and turn the page on the last 14 years.
But rebuilding comes at a cost. This, the biggest tax-raising budget in decades.
Together, the hole in our public finances this year, which recurs every year, the compensation schemes that they did not fund, and their failure to assess the scale of the challenges facing our public services, means that this budget raises taxes by £40 billion.
Paid for by businesses and the wealthy, with hikes to employers' national insurance tax, inheritance tax and capital gains tax. Labour lifting Britain's tax burden to its highest level in history, whilst also promising to protect working people's pay packets.
We are asking businesses to contribute more, and I know that there will be impacts of this measure felt beyond businesses too, as the OBR has set out today. But in the circumstances that I have inherited, it is the right choice to make.
And the scale of new spending seismic too, along with new rules on borrowing to fund it. Defence spending up, although still shy of the 2.5% target. £5 billion more on housing and a massive £25 billion boost for the NHS over the next 2 years.
I commend this statement to the House.
A huge budget and a huge moment, not just for her, but for him too. But the opposition not smiling at all.
The Leader of the Opposition.
What does today's budget do? It raises tax on working people by increasing national insurance and breaking Labour's promise. As the Independent Institute of Fiscal Studies have said, this is a straightforward breach of their manifesto.
Yeah, good.
4 months on from the election, Rachel Reeves finally showing her hand and defending her choices. £40 billion of taxes. It's the biggest tax-raising budget since 1993. It's gigantic. And you said before the election, no plans to raise taxes, or the PM did, beyond the £8 billion that you had earmarked. So a lot of people out there are going to be quite shocked today.
Well, in the decisions that we've made in the budget today, I accept that this is a big and a substantial budget.
But
it wasn't the budget
might feel
that
let
I
down,
was.
that
It wasn't
you
the
weren't
budget.
straight with them.
It wasn't the budget that I was expecting to deliver when I became Chancellor on the 5th of July. I didn't think that any government would be so reckless to have £22 billion of unfunded commitments.
Are you honestly saying that you have a democratic mandate for the measures that you have announced today? Tens of billions of pounds in increased spending and tens of billions of pounds of tax rises, none of which is in this document. You have a democratic mandate for this.
The first line of the first step in our manifesto was to return stability to our economy. That is the most important thing that I had to do as Chancellor. And we do have a mandate for bringing that stability back to the economy.
You're asking the public for £40 billion tax rises. Can you at least reassure people there are no more tax rises after this?
Well, I've committed to just have one budget a year. I'm not coming back to this in the spring.
Parliament.
No, I'm not going to make commitments to never change taxes again. That would be irresponsible. But this is a once-in-a-Parliament budget to wipe the slate clean after the mess that the Conservatives have left us.
Change, it's on the cover of Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer's manifesto, and today we finally got to understand what that really means. The tax and spending decisions announced in this budget are as historic and hefty as this manifesto was fiscally vague. Most of the things announced are nowhere to be found in this document. And so it raises the question about whether they really have a mandate for all of this tens of billions in new tax and spend. Labour has spent months blaming the Tories for the choices Rachel Reeves now makes. But this is not about the Conservatives anymore. It's about her unprecedented plan to rebuild Britain and whether voters will go along with it or feel misled. Beth Rigby, Sky News, Westminster.